Hey, everybody. Fascinating chat today on unlocking the real value of enterprise AI, especially how companies manage their documents with a true innovator in the field. Dr. John Bass from SER Group. John, how are you?
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being here. Really excited to have you. I followed your body of work from Cambridge and deep learning researcher, I guess five-time CEO, maybe, now CEO of SER Group. But perhaps you could introduce yourself to the listeners here.
Absolutely. Thanks, Evan. I'm a former professor, as we'd say in the US, of computer science. I'm a PhD in computer science from Cambridge in the UK. Originally, I was born in the UK, and I was a fellow and lecturer there for a number of years before I crossed over to the dark side of the force and took some of my research and built my first product company, which was called a Palmer, which was using machine learning techniques to find patterns in fast moving data and act on them in very low latency. And we applied that to the rise of algorithmic and high frequency trading. Gosh, more than 25 years ago now.
Mm.
I'm getting to be an old fogey these days, but I've done, yeah, as you say, a number of different companies. Sold my first business to a US public company, moved to the US, and my kids were all born in the US. I'm a US citizen, and always applied AI and cool stuff to lots of different areas, whether it be the Internet of Things or algorithmic trading or software test automation, or now next generation document management and document automation.
Well, fantastic journey. And we're in peak AI mania hype. So you provide a unique perspective given your 30 years studying this topic. Let's start with why do you think the AI conversation is so obsessed, focused on models and not the underlying data?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very much become a conversation about large language models now, and this amazing world of generative AI. But I think it should be a little bit more about the data or bringing these things together, because this is going to sound sacrilegious, I think, a bit, Evan, but are we are we still searching for really the killer apps or the ways to monetize or deliver business value from AI? We know instinctively it's there. And we've seen pockets of it. But I think other than it doing your homework, that which is clearly a killer app. Not sure it's a great one, for at least for students' own good and for professors, but I think to really tap into the value, you need to think about what data are you applying this to, and how are you really getting the business value out of it. And that's one of the things that we've certainly been looking at. How do you bring the benefits of large language models together with the domain specific data that's going to deliver the value in your business?
I love that. And so let's talk document management. I started in the enterprise 35 years ago. We didn't have documents, we had file cabinets, but that's just a whole nother conversation. But speaking of old school, document management is seen as kind of old school, and yet now it's back in the spotlight for large enterprise. How and why is that?
Yeah, well, I think it's because that's where a lot of your business value is locked up. But I think we also know, just like you had your filing cabinets, maybe you had some at home and kept them in your garage or your basement. Did you ever go there? God, what secrets were locked up there? It's the same in every business, isn't it? We've got God knows how many decades of documents, some of them with regulatory constraints, regulatory governance associated with them. You've got to keep them. Maybe they're shipped off to, some archive deep in a hillside somewhere. But typically you've got these things. And in your business these days, when it's digital, you've got a number of documents over decades, that a lot of which is dark. So it may contain business wisdom, but it's locked up somewhere. You don't even know where it is. Even a Teams session or a Zoom session, you go along there and you exchange great ideas, and then at the end of the session, you've exchanged presentations, you've had a chat, you've maybe drawn some pictures, blah, blah, blah. Where is that? And apply that now to the enterprise, where you've got people buying best of breed systems from, maybe you've got an SAP ERP, or maybe an Oracle ERP, maybe you've got Salesforce.com, ServiceNow, the Microsoft suite, and each line of business loves it because they get what they want. But then each line of business becomes a process and a document silo. Combine that with those legacy digital filing cabinets of different kinds somewhere out there, and you've got a world in which you need to differentiate and compete with organizations that are trying to eat your lunch. There's probably the nuggets in your business to help you, but how can you unlock them? And whether it be your staff, your most trusted colleague has just quit. Could we have figured out that beforehand? Your best customer is about to churn. Could we have figured that out? Maybe another of your really great customers is desperate to buy something. How can we unlock that? And you could go on and on and on. But these things are getting caught in barbed wire between systems, and they're getting, sort of hidden in dark data.
Interesting. You must have so many stories and anecdotes, examples of your clients using documents to get more out of AI. Care to share one or two?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could give you a quick example of one that springs to mind immediately. So SEW Eurodrive, we did a great ROI study with them, and they are, every time you ride on like a moving staircase, escalator kind of thing, then it's driven by a big drive motor, and maybe when you're going on a moving walkway, or maybe when there's a factory or robotics, they're also driven by these drive motors. And one of the hidden champions of this, I think it's multi-billion revenue company, is called SEW Eurodrive, based in the Stuttgart area. And they receive, you can have a little drive unit, you can have a huge drive unit, it can be have bits on this side or that side, and basically they can take custom orders, and they probably get 50,000 emails a day from their customers. And what they would like to be able to do is to automatically read emails, understand what's in an email. Is there an attachment? If so, what kind of thing should we do with it? Is it an order? Is it a custom order made in sort of unstructured text or semi-structured on a form? And let's say, can we understand that? Can we then spin up the process to bring up the designer, the computer-aided designer, to lay out that order, put it through into an SAP system to have a process where we create an order, and make sure that order is delivered, track that within let's say a 2-week time frame for this customer. But there may be a load of other different types of documents that are coming through in that world. So that's an example of intelligent understanding coming in, but taking automated action. And then, of course, you've got to be able to store all the documents around that. So that's an example of, intelligent, understanding leading to automation. But then there is the unlocking the nuggets pieces as well, which is, if you have if you like, let's say you've received a contract and you want to say, does this contract interfere or intersect or conflict with any other contracts we've got out there? Or you might want to do that kind of, it's really a superhuman search, if you like, across all of your documents. Is there any document we have that has any impact on this document, for example? And that's the sort of thing you would think where large language models could be useful, but how do you apply them to your data? And this is another type of approach where you can bring together documents and large language models, and you can say, can I use a technique which is called retrieval augmented generation to actually do a search on your documents, add that information into a prompt query you give to a large language model, and then send it out. And that's then enriching and making more domain specific the large language model, and it gives much more accurate feedback. So you can bring together the best of both worlds for both querying and for processing documents that are coming in and understanding them.
Wow, that's super powerful. And some industries clearly are leading, some are lagging. I'm really interested in healthcare, for example, and sadly, our medical records and files are moving around on fax and CD-ROMs.
Yes.
But is there hope there in other industries? Who is really jumping on board at the present?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of work done on, I think, triage. The
Mm,
challenge you've got, of course, in healthcare is you've got that HIPAA and various, you've got FDA levels of certification, 1, 2, 3. But using something for triage for system support is super helpful. And there was, in the UK, for example, there was a National Health Service, which is the sort of the government-run healthcare system, that did a trial using deep learning to look through pictures of, images of cancer, for example, or potential cancer. And in breast, I think there was 2,000 images of breast cancer. It found 2 examples where there was cancer where a human overlooked it. And so
mm,
flagging that up, although you're not replacing a human because you can't get past those regulatory requirements, and each country or region might have their own, you can flag up things that a human might have missed. You can do triage to say, right, do this one first because this looks like it might have. And I think that's an area where deep learning and related image technology is already helping. But I think it's also going to be good for retrieval of information. We're involved in a lot of projects around storing information around a patient. You get these electronic
mm,
medical record systems, but they often store a set of information which is fairly fixed. And then having the, images, CAT scan, X-ray, patient notes, and so on associated with that. If you start using agentic technologies, which is something we haven't talked about, which is also another cool thing, agentic technologies that are sort of like curators or miners of documents in the background, you can start to join the dots and spot, well, actually, this patient is a bit more at risk of this genetic disorder because I've learned from their, mining their notes and putting it together in this way that we might want to flag them up a little bit. So I guess that's the third leg of the stool, which is agentic technology, mining documents and finding insights in the background without being asked a superhuman query.
mm. Incredible opportunity. And you mentioned compliance. There are so many risks of companies putting sensitive documents into AI without the right controls. How do you manage that?
Definitely, I think you really have to be careful about that. I think you have to extend that governance framework that you have around, for example, the really dry areas in some people's minds of archiving. How long does this document have to be stored for, and things like that. I think you have to be able to have extended rules around what you can actually do with, particular documents and AI, because people may not want to have certain things mined, or you may have to be careful with authorizations of who can see particular information. These are enforced in a document management system, but I think it has to be extended to AI to make sure you're not in breach of any regulations and so on.
Got it. And let's talk about the space of enterprise content management. This is giants are interested in this space. You have lots of crowded competitors out there. Talk about how you're, really differentiating SER Group, and how are they trying to reinvent themselves? Because, as you say, this industry goes back quite some time.
Absolutely. Well, you're absolutely right. This industry has been around for a long time. And I think in the sort of the enterprise content management, it's kind of a $20 billion market. But a lot of that market is ripe for disruption and ripe for replacement, because a lot of these products are at the end of life. And you've got some big aggregators that have gone around and bought these things up. I don't have to name them, but you know who they are, and they've bought a number of different products, never integrated these things. So there's different ages of products out there with different with low levels of support, and not typically may not be in the cloud, definitely not with AI. And if you want to do any of these capabilities, you have to do a big integration process to bring things together. And so I give our CTO a lot of credit for architecting our platform, DOXIS, right from the very start, which is to say, okay, we need to natively bring together AI-powered document understanding with a platform to automate processes around documents that can openly plug into every enterprise application framework, and massive scale storage, manage, search, archive, collaboration around documents, all into one platform, and all working through what we call a metadata fabric. Metadata is essentially the soul of a document. You extract it and it has the essence, the meaning of that document. And then if you can, for example, take some unstructured document, extract the metadata, you can then use that metadata in the automation process, and you're storing it for retrieval. And so this is the sort of if you like, the key, the soul of the document that's used to bring these capabilities together. And of course, in a cloud first, but still being able to cater for the big ugly problems where some bits are on premise and some bits are hybrid. You still have to deal with that with enterprise customers. And when I talk about large scale, I'm talking about somebody like DHL, who has 60 billion documents under management. They're adding 7 million a day. So every time you ship a package, documents are created. So it's this kind of scale with potentially millions of documents coming in a day, being understood, and an AI first approach where AI is not just on the way in, but it's used for understanding, for search, for for management, for agentic curation. And this is the platform that we think is needed for the next era of problems. If you don't bring those things together, you can't. You're going to find robotic process automation is no longer the right technology for the next generation of automation, because it doesn't understand what it's doing. It's a surface level technology. You're going to find that old school document management, enterprise content management is not the right technology, because it doesn't bring these capabilities together. So you can't actually understand the documents, and we believe automation around documents requires also these things coming together. So that's our that's our belief, that's our philosophy, and that's how we've architected DOXIS. And yeah, we so far so good, and we've got to continue to deliver value for customers.
Absolutely. And you're reinventing yourself with AI and investing in R&D. You've made some acquisitions recently. Where are you headed in terms of your direction?
Definitely, we want to be the one-stop shop for smart documents. That's
Mm,
what and we want to be. We say that we deliver our customers ROI, where that stands for return on information. So we want to
mm,
unlock the information they've already got, or the information that's coming through their business every day, to give them competitive advantage. And so that's what we want to do. We don't want to do a million things. And you're absolutely right. We're going to continue to add the building blocks that can help us strengthen that position. And you're right, we added a great couple of add-ons recently. Clipper, which was a leader in AI-powered intelligent document processing, and they particularly had this really cool studio where you can lay out, even if in a code-free way, AI-powered, flows to be able to understand any document and plug together modules with data flowing in and out. So that we've added that natively into our business studio, and AFI, which is a smart process for orders for cash and purchase to pay for SAP specifically. And we find SAP, 70% of our customers use things from SAP. So we just want to make their lives easier and make their processes around documents smarter.
brilliant. Well, congratulations on all the success. Congratulations on being named a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and onwards and upwards to the right as far as Gartner goes. Great chatting with you and learning more about SER.
Thank you, sir. Great to speak to you.
And thanks everyone for listening, watching. Also check out the TV show on Fox Business and Bloomberg Tech Impact TV. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.